introduction. And thanks to all the students who have dialed in. I can't tell how many of you there are. I'm not very good with Zoom, but I know there are quite a number of you, so thank you very much. I know it's a busy time for you. I've just arrived to Qatar about 2.5 weeks ago. I finished my mandatory 2-week quarantine 3 days ago and have been very busy actually during quarantine and since quarantine. I've gotten out a little bit to meet with some senior Qatari officials, but more every day. I'm really delighted to be here. It's not my first time in Qatar, but it's my first time serving at the embassy. So I'm thrilled to be here. I want to start with a few thank yous that you may have already heard, but really I want to thank very much the Ministry of Higher Education and Education, the Qatar Foundation and the Qatar Career Development Center, all the counselors, teachers, parents, students from all the private and independent schools around Qatar, and the Qatari business and scholarship providers. Everyone is a very important member of the team that makes education and higher education happen every day here in Qatar, and the partnerships with Qatar and the US. I would like to thank EducationUSA and our amazing public affairs team for making this session today a reality. But most importantly, I'd like to congratulate all of you for having been admitted to some of the finest academic institutions in the US, and really thank you for choosing America. I don't need to tell you what stressful and unprecedented times these are, but as students, you're a resilient group, and I believe you've endured a really tough year, tough senior year, and that you'll continue to be strong. I have 3 children. My oldest 2 are in graduate school, and both of them had to do online spring semesters. One left New York and came. I live in Maryland, and we were all on quarantine. So my daughter did her 2nd semester of law school from my dining room, which was quite an adjustment for her. I loved it because she was home. Our son was able to stay in Ann Arbor, Michigan and finish his master's degree, but online. They're both going on and continuing their classes, but they don't know whether it's going to be in person or online or some combination of both. So I feel your pain, and I feel the stress of the situation, and we're all going to get through this, but it's unprecedented and it's hard, I know. As you well know, many of Qatar's top leaders in government and business are US grads. Dr. Sarkhan, one of the speakers today, is a fellow Vanderbilt grad. So I had to throw that little plug in there. But I'm pleased that you chose the US for your studies, because I do think we excel in the education field, and we have broad and diverse programs and really academic excellence across the board. So I thank you for taking the time out of your busy days to participate in this session. It's when our countries share information that we grow stronger and wiser together. And this model really applies across the spectrum, from academics to journalism to foreign policy, military, law enforcement. US and Qatar share many, many bonds of friendship and partnership. And we certainly consider Qatar a very strong and top-notch partner for us. And I hope they feel the same way as well. Our universities attract students from all over the world. The best and the brightest come to America to study, and we also send ours to your countries and to Qatar. So the exchange is great. I look forward to your questions. I am happy to take anything you want to ask. Again, congratulations, and let me know how I can help you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Holtz. And for those of you who are tuning in, either on Facebook or Zoom, please feel free to type in your questions in the chat. We will be fielding questions for Ambassador Holtz now. So please let us know what's on your mind. Checking on the chat. We have some warm welcomes coming in from both the Ministry of Education and Higher Education, and the Qatar Career and Development Center. So Simi and Fadi send you their best wishes and welcome to Qatar.
Thank you both.
Great. If we don't have any questions right now, please feel free to enter your questions throughout the presentation. We'll be sure to get back to you with those. But if there aren't any comments or questions additionally to be shared, I will proceed. And again, thank Ambassador Holtz for taking the time to share. Congratulations and welcome and thank yous to everyone here. We really appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Thank you.
You're welcome. And so again, I'm Melissa Deschamps, and I work with Education USA in the Middle East and North Africa. And what we want to do today is really give you some insights from those who are teaching, who have learned, and who are currently learning in American education systems. The way Education USA approaches the advising is through a 5-step model. So today we really are looking at that 5th step, which is preparing for your departure. So this will be the first of several sessions to help you as students, and also for your parents and school counselors to get some additional insights on ways to prepare, on updates. These are very uncertain times. There's a lot of decisions that still need to be made. And so as universities make their plans for the fall and you try to navigate those uncertain decisions at this stage, we hope to provide you with as much information to prepare and be ready for either studying online or either traveling to the US and settling into your university campuses there. So I will now introduce our first speaker, Dr. Serkan Akkuch, who is, as you heard, a professor here at Carnegie Mellon University in Qatar, but who has also taught at Vanderbilt University in the US, where he also obtained his degrees. And so Dr. Serkan will talk a little bit about the online learning environment and give you information on how you can prepare, what to expect, and how to adjust. Dr. Serkan, over to you.
All right, thank you so much. I'd like to get my presentation started. First of all, I'd like to thank US Embassy Doha Public Affairs section for inviting me to this really exciting webinar, and Ambassador Holtz for very nice words. Vanderbilt certainly has a special place in my career. And a big congratulations to all the students who were admitted to US universities, including my graduate studies. I studied and worked in 4 different major US institutions during 16 years, in the past 16 years. And I can tell you confidently that you made a really good choice. Personally and professionally, the education in the United States will bring a lot of opportunities to you, and I'm pretty sure you'll have a bright career. And I've been teaching at Carnegie Mellon University in Qatar in the past 3.5 years. In this presentation, my focus will be the perspective of professors in a virtual learning environment. So on a very short notice in March, we were told that we'd be teaching online, which I had never done before, and so unprecedented times, as Ambassador Holtz stressed. So what do we expect as professors? So when I was invited to this webinar, I actually talked to my colleagues and got their perspectives as well. So these are the points that that my colleagues also at Carnegie Mellon Qatar shares with me. Just a few advice to make it easier for you. So in an online environment, the only means of communication is unfortunately email. So normally in a face-to-face teaching that you would just pop up in the office of your professor, talk to the professor before and after classes. And we typically as instructors form the closest bonds with students who actually just come say hi and ask questions, but none of these are possible in a virtual environment. So what you need to do is you need to be more proactive and drive the virtual relationship and take every opportunity to reach out to your professor whenever possible with questions, or sometimes just to say hi. Just make sure that you're interested, you're focused, and that make sure that your professor knows you. So it's not uncommon for major US universities. The freshman classes will be 200 plus. At Carnegie Mellon Pittsburgh campus, our econ class, for example, about 200, 300 students sometimes. So in an environment like that, there will be a teaching team that includes graduate teaching assistants who are typically PhD students and the course assistants or undergrad students. So please respect the channel of communication that your professor establishes. Sometimes your professor might tell you, just go through the TAs and the CAs for your basic questions before you reach out to me. And it's not just because your professor doesn't want the questions, it's just because the class is too big. So make sure definitely to drive the virtual relationship and reach out. So participation is really, really important. So you have to be extra engaged because everything is virtual, that you're not physically present in the class. So if there are any question opportunities during the lectures, please raise your hand and ask your questions. So I teach finance, which tends to be a very highly quantitative and difficult topic. Well, when I see a silence in the classroom, I read the body language, and it typically means that some students are confused. So what I do is I actually just stop and then go over the topics again. But in a virtual environment, that we don't read that body language anymore. So all we see sometimes is the cameras in a really small squares on the screen. So you must ask your questions whenever you have. We love questions. So you never bother the professor with questions, because that's why we are here for. So cameras are extremely important. There are several reasons for that. First of all, we'd like to see that you're engaged in the class, that you're not doing something else. Second, course assistants are also monitoring your participation. And most importantly, that we want a reaction. When we teach a material, that we would like to make sure that you're maybe nodding or smiling or just look confused. And that camera aspect is really, really important in online learning environment that we highly encourage you. Actually, your university might have a policy. At Carnegie Mellon University, we do have a camera policy. Unless there's a very special circumstance, the students need to keep their cameras on during the lectures. And this last point is extremely important, and I cannot really overemphasize this. So with multiple classes that you'll be taking, and it's inevitable that you'll have a lot of deadlines in the same day or within a few days of each other. So what that means is, closer to deadlines, you'll have questions, but you're not the only one with the questions. Assume you're in a classroom of 100 students, and then 50 of these students have a question, and 30 of them decide to send an email to the professor. And you can imagine that in the last moment that you might not get the help that you would like, and you might get frustrated. So what happens is you really need to reach out to your teacher or the course assistants to get answers to your questions as early as possible. Otherwise, in the last moment, that it's not uncommon that I have 30 emails sitting in my inbox the night before an assignment is due. It's not that I don't want to respond to email, it's just there's just not enough time. Please time yourself, keep a calendar. And so in a virtual environment, it's really, really crucial. So this is my favorite part. We get lots of questions. We love questions, but sometimes a question like, when is the deadline for assignment one? Or should we turn a hard copy or a digital copy? Or can I do this or that? Most of these things we actually include in our course syllabus or the assignment itself. So my recommendation is that just check every material available posted on your learning software, which is Canvas or the Blackboard, depending on the school that you're attending. And if you don't find the answer, of course you should reach out, but please make sure that you look up everything and possible, post it online, and then see if you have the answer to those questions. And another common thing in the US universities is you might be taking an econ class and at the same time a Spanish class. So these courses are offered by different departments, and the professors in these courses might have completely different expectations from you. So what's crucial is, in the very first week of the classes, please read the course syllabus very carefully and understand the requirements of the courses. And if anything is unclear, do not wait until week 3 or 4 when all the exams start. Try to clarify them early enough when the professors are not as busy in the earlier weeks of the semester that something is confusing to you, or like, what's the weight of assignment 1? It's not on the course syllabus. Perfect time to ask is probably the week 1, not to wait until it's due. because you need to time yourself and manage your workload accordingly. And we as students typically, I know it's easier said than done, typically leave the reviewing right before the exam. But imagine you're taking the courses online, which is going to be typical for most universities in the United States in the first half of the semester for sure. So you really need to stay on top of the material. So if you leave materials to accumulate and you will find yourself alone on an online environment, the only means of communication is an email. You cannot meet with your friends. You cannot go to library to get study or anything like that. You really need to study on time, and so that you have enough time to ask your questions. And every university has academic resource center. So you need to reach out to them if you need help with calculus, statistics, writing, or whatever it may be. And then you need to utilize those resources on time to get the most help on a virtual environment. Calendars are extremely important. All your deadlines need to be there. Again, for all the reasons that I've been talking about in the virtual environment, that email is the only means of communication. And so emails take time to respond. So you need to really stay organized and then make sure that you don't leave things to the last moment. And last couple points, this is the part that professors get criticized for the most. We tend to go too fast sometimes. Too slow has not been an issue, but too fast is a problem if you don't get feedback from students. So you need to interrupt your professor, ask your questions. You're never annoying. We love questions, and sometimes you might be hesitant. Should I raise my hand? Should I ask a question? Trust me, many of your classmates also have the same questions. So adjust the pace of your professors with your questions. Otherwise, he might or she might just really run through the material very quickly, and you might find yourself in the challenge that I had in the online teaching is because we don't get much feedback, I tend to cover more material than I used to, which we don't want to, but we really need some sort of feedback to adjust that pace. And evaluations are extremely important. Most major university professors will ask you to fill out a mid-semester evaluation. The reason for those is just to understand the student needs, and if we are doing something right or not right, whether you want something to be changed. Please take a few minutes to fill out those evaluations, because we do read them and we change most of the time, maybe assignments sometimes, or the structure of the course based on student feedback. And that's extremely important. Well, the most importantly, it's the very beginning of your educational career. Some of you will have 4 years and find a job. Some of you will go into grad school, and knowledge is gold. Acquire as much knowledge as possible. One thing unique about the US university setting is you'll be equipped with a lot of different skills, qualitative, quantitative, social, all of them will come in a same package. Try to make use of every opportunity on campus, make friends, use university resources, enjoy the experience. And if you have any questions, you can get my contact information from the public affairs section in the embassy. I'm happy to answer any questions. Once again, congratulations, and well, very happy for you. All right.
Thank you so much, Serkan. And also a reminder to everyone, we will have a Q&A section at the end, but please feel free to add your questions throughout the different presentations so that you don't forget what your points are. And this was definitely a very helpful insight for all of you to hear directly from a professor's perspective what things you should be doing to maximize your success as a student. And now I would like to invite our second speaker, Ms. Fiza Shahzad, who's a student at Georgetown University. And in addition to pursuing her major of international history, she's also pursuing certificates in Arab and regional studies and gender and politics. She is a very active student, as I mentioned, working also at the university, but she is also the Secretary General of her university's flagship Model United Nations Conference, the student chair of the Honor Council, and founder and president of Georgetown's Dance Society. So plenty of opportunities for you to ask questions about her involvement, her experience, and also the information she will share from a student perspective. Over to you, Fiza.
Thank you so much, Melissa, for that introduction. And I would really like to take this opportunity to thank the US Embassy in Qatar for giving me this chance to speak to all of you. I actually had the privilege of interning with the embassy this past semester, and it was one of the best experiences I've ever had in a professional work environment. So my presentation will primarily focus on how you can succeed at college, particularly in an American university system. I've sort of split it up into two sections. The first is sort of general tips on how you can be a successful student. And the second one really focuses on an online learning environment in particular. So basically, how do you make the most out of your college experience? As freshmen, as first-year students, it's important to start slow. It's like really good to get involved when you're on campus, but particularly when you're just starting off in university, it is important to really gauge how you can balance out your academics and other extracurricular activities and obligations. However, once you have adjusted to campus life or in an online working environment, it's good to get involved, and it's particularly helpful if you utilize all the resources that the campus has available for you. At Georgetown, for example, we have a state-of-the-art library. We also have the Office of Academic Services, and every American university has somewhat of a counterpart, as Dr. Sarkhan mentioned previously. So do utilize all of those services that are available to you, and really become aware of all the resources that you can sort of use when you are at college to make your life, make your experience quite simpler. Another important factor is sort of to get used to the college lingo, as you put it. So there are terms like GPA, like grade point average, or CGPA, or what your school's fight song is, or even what are your mascot, etc. is. What are the department names? Those are important things to sort of learn quickly, because otherwise you might just be walking around blindly on campus, not knowing where you're supposed to be. Also, very important, it's good to understand what your credit requirements are for your degree and what is expected from you when you graduate. You can always speak to your academic dean or to professors or anyone available in the admissions department, etc. They are more than willing to help you, and this will make sure that you stay on the right track to graduate on time. Last two things that I would really like to mention is, firstly, it's very, very helpful to volunteer for opportunities that are not just, either paid work or something that is just for your CV, but like, for example, things like community service. Not only do they look great on your CV, but also it's important to do things that you find fun and that you feel good about on campus. Academics can be difficult, and so can be your other obligations. So that can also be considered like your downtime. And lastly, and most importantly, feel free to ask questions to those who are around you. Do not feel like any question really is silly or stupid. It's important to recognize that everyone has been in that place that you currently are. It's okay to feel a little lost, but it's helpful if you ask questions to those who are around you, and I'm sure they would be happy to answer them to ease your transition into college life. Most importantly, do not overstretch yourself. It is very easy, particularly as a first-year student, to want to do everything. And especially when you go to college, you see so many students from very diverse backgrounds who've done, very unique things prior to coming to college. And you will sort of feel the need to sort of do everything as well. That is probably not the most effective way of gaining the most out of college, because then you end up not doing well in just about everything, just because you want to do like essentially anything that you can potentially volunteer for. Choose what you feel really passionate about and then sort of go after that. Tips for online learning. I understand that this is a difficult time, particularly to be starting college, but online learning doesn't have to be a difficult sort of experience. There's a lot of ways that you can make the experience quite rewarding. Firstly, it's very good to be using organizational tools. I will give some examples in the next slide, but there are some tools that you can utilize to make your online learning process much smoother. Second, make a Zoom account. It's helpful if you sort of download the Zoom and sort of personalize it. You can make sure that you have a picture there, all of those things, just so it is quite easy for you to log in immediately for classes and meetings, etc. And you will save yourself a lot of time rather than having to go through like the manual process of getting onto a Zoom call. Third, it is very important to establish a physical workspace at home. When you're at home, it's very difficult to really focus on college work. So establishing either an area of the house, whether it's like your dining room table or a desk in your room, and sort of indicating that this is your physical workspace really helps you focus. It also helps others, like your family members, like to not disturb you during that time period when you're in your class. So that is very important, but it is also important to establish an online workspace. So you can, for example, designate a particular folder on your laptop for your classes or for your notes, or you can make a Google Drive system that sort of compiles all of your documents that are relevant to your class. This will make your semester much easier, particularly academically, so you don't have to go around looking for particular documents or resources. Establish a clear routine and set clear goals. These are very, very important, especially when there is clearly no distinction between your work and home life. So it would be very, very helpful if you sort of clarified through some kind of calendar system what your daily routine is for the day. This will help you sort of package each item that is on your to-do list into separate time blocks. And this will also help you sort of achieve things more effectively and not sort of delay everything to the last minute. By clear goals, what I mean is that you should have a good idea of what you hope to achieve from your first semester of college, even if that is not getting lost in sort of a mound of emails. By establishing clear goals, you will have a good idea of recalling what it is that is important to you during your academic journey. The last point I would make is sort of limit distractions. Now, it is very, very easy to get distracted generally when you're in school, but online, the distractions are like on a whole new level, especially when, your environment is sort of restricted to a screen. It's good to sort of keep your phone on silent or put it aside. Make sure that the only thing that's around you is related to your classes or for whatever meeting that you're currently logged in. This will ensure that you give your utmost attention to the task that you are doing and really focus on what is that you hope to achieve. For the organizational tools that I mentioned earlier, the three I feel like are most effective is one, Google Calendar. All of you will have accounts through a university, and you can automatically sort of get Google Calendar as an attachment. Now, this really helps you sort of identify time blocks and really book your hours for your classes. It also helps you sort of interact with others by scheduling meetings and Zoom conferences for any clubs or activities that you may have. Another thing that is particularly helpful is Trello. Now, this is sort of a task application that you can use on your phones as well. And this is quite useful because it really helps you list down everything that is due. You can sort of specify all of your assignments with sort of deadlines, etc. And it is overall just a very helpful application to stay organized. The last thing, as I also mentioned earlier, is how to sort of compile your notes and also all your resources for each course. Now, there are two options that I've put there. One is GoodNotes, which is another application where you can also type notes. And at the same time, you can also attach files, etc. The other one is Google Drive. You can simply type notes on Google Docs and save them in a Drive folder and just separate your folders based on each course so you can identify them quicker later on. That is all I have for you. So thank you so much for your time. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know, and I would be happy to answer them towards the end.
Thank you so much, Fiza. And just for everyone's reference, I've also added her bio as well, so that if you also have questions about what she's involved in on campus, you can also type those questions in during the Q&A section. We now have our third speaker, Ms. Khadija Abu Khaleika, who, as you heard, is the Vice President of Youth Counselor for the Minister of Culture and Sport. Khadija has studied at prestigious universities in the US, including Harvard and Duke. She earned her bachelor degree in international studies, media communication and journalism, along with international business communication certificates in 2011. So we invite Khadija.
Hello, everyone. I'm so glad that I'm right now going to share my experience with you. And before I start, I would love to thank Fiza and Dr. Serkan for their contribution in this session. So thank you for the information. Obviously, I graduated a long time ago for now, but all your information, what you said is actually make me would love to go back to school and study to try all your tips. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Ambassadors Holtz, and welcome to Qatar. And I hope your journey in Qatar started very fresh and very amazing. Okay, so congratulations, everyone, for being admitted in US universities. Let me tell you from my heart, it's one of your excellent choice that you choose in life. I was in your chair when I was confused to study where. I decided to study in the US 2008. So my decision was forced with many uncertainty because it was for me a new experience. I have never been to the US before, but my dad was graduate from the US. So I was like, yeah, let's try this chance. So, and that I would love, when I graduated from the US, I came to Doha, and I had something in mind, like why we don't have those kind of sessions that we actually discuss and talk to students before they actually travel about their experience, our experience in the US. So it's easy for them to get into the vibes that they were gonna face, and also maybe the challenges that they're gonna face, and they can get used to it. So first of all, I graduated 2011 from University of Oregon, and I studied in many different universities as well. I'm also in Qatar Leadership Program, which I studied in Harvard, all the university that she already mentioned. I don't want to repeat. So why you study in America? This is the first thing. First of all, let's all agree that it's going to be an amazing in your CV. The first thing that, and this is from an experienced person getting back from US to Doha, when I come to the working space, when I ask them, first thing that they look at, they call me the second day they get my CV, because I graduated with an experience that I actually study in the US. So everyone is interested until now that someone is actually studying in the US, and it's a girl. So it's going to be amazing in your CV, and this is a plus. Second of all, learning the language. So you can get an amazing experience of practicing your language and an accent. I know watching TV and watching series will help, but actually being there and speaking the accent of the, for example, Texas or like Oregon, or those kind of accents will help you get into the society and live the culture. Meet new people. Also, in university life, and I guess Fiza can also talk to you like about this, people has different mentalities, different perspectives. So maybe when you are in a small classrooms with the same person, maybe from grade 1 until grade 12, you get used to the people around you. But being alone outside your country and in a new culture, plus meeting different peoples, different personalities, actually will help building your people skill. So you will be more into knowing how to react with the passive and passive person, direct person. People will say like yes all the time. So you will be really familiarized with everyone around you, and you will build your social skill. Friends. So I guess friends is a life key experience for everyone. Everyone would love to get the right friends. So my university friends that I get, it's the friends for life. I get people from France, from Germany, from Sweden. All of them, they live with me in the US, and until now it's like it has been 10 years, and still we are communicated, and I attended their wedding, they come to my wedding, we share photos of our kids and other stuff. So those friends, because all of them, they study abroad, and you start building your own form and community outside your country. Obviously, who does not love food? If you study in the US, for the international experience, you can get it all. Studying outside will let you experience the real food from different culture, because in the US there's lots of immigrants, so you can actually eat from their real cuisine instead of traveling all around the world. You can find this in the US. This is the most point I would love to discuss it, is gaining independence. I would not be the same woman as I am today if I did not study in the US, just because one reason, which is very important, is independent. Gaining independence. I cannot imagine paying my bill when I was a student in Qatar. So if I was studying in Qatar, obviously my father or my family, the community that I'm in, is actually supporting me in, with money accounts, grocery. I would never think of losing one of those. But when I was facing with reality of study abroad, I really gained an independence, because one day I did not have electricity. Second day, I am out of money. So living that experience will actually build your knowledge and build your depth of thinking. And I start actually invest from the day that I travel to US. And right now, alhamdulillah, I have a very amazing business that I gain without loan, which is I'm so proud of. Culture experience, you can get a diversity of a culture experience when you study abroad. You can find lots of people. US is not one country. You can find it like it's a small part of countries. You can find lots of cultures and lots of diversity. It's a continent. So whenever you have a time, whenever you have a chance, if you are in the US, travel. I was traveling in weekends. Each weekend I'm in a different city, and I experienced and I lived the life of the local of that city. So just try to get out from your perspective and get into the new culture perspective and live with them. This will actually shape and broaden your mindset. New perspective in your culture. So when you travel from your culture and you move to a different culture, you will think more about different perspective, but how you see your culture. You will appreciate the things that you have, and you will appreciate whatever the other culture is missing. So I appreciate the little stuff. For example, I appreciate my mom food. I appreciate the thing that I get for granted. So when you are alone, but it's in a good way of actually realizing you are blessed with many benefits in your life that you are not sure about. Who I am. So you realize who you are. I realized that I'm an independent woman. I realized that I'm good in business because I studied doing business when I'm 2010. I was drawing designs and sell them to students, and they love them. They buy my designs. So I started my own small business. So you can form your identity and form who you want to be when you are alone studying abroad, because this is only you. It's between you and yourself. No, you cannot find different influence on you. You're not pushed to attend, for example, a certain gathering, or just go with the flow or go with the friends. You choose your timeline, and you build your own timeline and what exactly you want to do in your life. Appreciate small things in life. As I just mentioned, small things is very important, and we are not appreciative of it, especially in coronavirus right now. Maybe some people will get into like, oh yeah, I miss getting out with those people. I was taking them for granted. I miss doing this or that. And right now, maybe we are miss being on classrooms, but hopefully soon you will get back there in classrooms and getting into airplane. So appreciating the small things in life when you are outside and studying abroad is a key. Also, it's unforgettable experience. Until now, people is asking me about my study in the US. People is asking me about how I adapt living abroad. So those small tips that you will get from being abroad will give you the lifetime experience that you can share it will actually set your perspective in life. And last but not least, variety is the spice in your life. And if I would love to leave you with one tips, I would leave you with a homesick tip. If you study abroad, make sure, and 100% no, and I guess Visa no, because if she comes from different culture, homesick, everyone will pass through homesick. I know people studying with me in the US, they actually, when they feel homesick, they will travel direct to their home country and they stop their study. No, please don't do that. This is a big mistake, because this is feeling that every single one of us is feeling. So you will have a time that you are up and you will have a time that you are down, but just keep your mind that this is natural and this is part of life, and everyone is passing through the same concept. So homesick is a key, and it will last only for 2 weeks and then it will diminish. So just surround yourself with good friends, good vibes, and believe in yourself that you are strong enough to go through this journey and get the whole experience. And by the way, I am so lucky. After my study, I have been chosen to work by Sheikh Moza, Her Highness, to work in the US, Qatar Embassy in the US, and also working with small clubs in my university allow me to open the doors to work with the United Nations in some of their projects. And until now, I represent my country in the UN. So university is very important. Try to use it wisely. Thank you very much. I'm sorry for taking longer time. Thank you.
This is great, Khadija, and your passion, your enthusiasm is coming through loud and clear even after so many years of being back here in the States. So I do hope people take advantage of asking some questions, getting more of your insights. I think we definitely look forward to having you speak with more of our students who may have questions or reservations about studying in the US. So thank you. I think you're an excellent example of success story. Taking advantage of all of the opportunities, not just the academic, but also the experiential and the networking that takes place naturally while you're there. I will turn it over to Asil before we begin our Q&A. So again, you can type your questions in the chat. We've also posted a question that you can, for those of you that already have acceptances or are waiting for those acceptances, you can share on one of our polls which university or institution you will be planning to go. So please feel free to enter that on the chat. Over to you, Asil.
Thank you. Hi again, everyone. Thanks for joining us. So you are so much welcome to join our upcoming sessions. We have almost a session every week, and in fact, in July, it will be a busy month. So please keep an eye on our Facebook page. We will have announcements for our upcoming sessions. We will have a number of pre-departure orientation virtual sessions that will cover different topics from US education system, adapting, coping, ethics and academic writing, how to make the most of your life at the university, services that are available to you as an international student, as well as some opportunities for training, for research. So please keep an eye on those announcements that you will have on our Facebook page. These are regional orientation sessions. They will be organized by different teams, but they will be also live streamed and shared. So please stay tuned. We will have 3 sessions, one on the 7th and the other 14th, as well as 29th. You are most welcome to join. And they will be so much useful for you as you plan for your departure, inshallah, when we get rid of COVID-19, inshallah. So now we will move to our Q&A. You are most welcome to have your questions in the chat box, or those who are following us and watching our live on Facebook, you are most welcome to write your questions in a comment. And we are so much pleased to answer your questions. And I've noticed there are some in the chat box. So Paula or Melissa, over to you.
Thank you, Asil. There are a few questions here. And this first question I'll direct to you, Serkan. A student is asking how students can manage the time difference challenges. Do universities offer options for recorded sessions? And I wondered what you can share with us about what happens at Carnegie Mellon.
Yes, hi, it's a really good question. It's a challenge that we have right now. Just I'll give you an example. We have summer course going on right now. We have some instructors in the US that have to connect at 3 a.m. So what happens is professors are very mindful of this. So what we do is we record our sessions. A lot of time what we do is we do half live session and half recorded session and provide them on Canvas. So, I mean, of course, it's up to the professor, but you definitely need to let your professor know that you're connecting from a different time zone. We have a lot of meetings to address these issues. Your professor is really aware of that fact. So when they get the class roster, they know who's where. So in a class like that, you might have to follow the recorded lectures if the lecture is live, but most of the time what we do is we do half the lectures synchronous, like a live, and asynchronous, like which is recorded and provided. And I definitely would advise you to reach out to your professor right now. If you registered for courses, just let them know you're connecting from a different time zone. If you are here, it's less of a problem because the classes are during the day in the United States, so it's going to be in the evening here, so it's better. But if it was vice versa, classes here, someone connecting from US, it's more difficult. It's definitely something, it's on our radar and we pay close attention to. So just send an email and let your professor know you are connecting from overseas, and they will certainly take that into account.
Thank you. That's great advice. There's a student, let's see, Melissa, I'll direct this to you, from Hussein. He's wondering how he can make sure that he chooses a good university from, he says, the 10,000 universities in the USA.
Well, we have over 4,000 that are accredited, so your choices should be really limited to those universities that are accredited institutions. And so that is part of what Education USA's resources and advisors help you do, which is look at the options. The universities are offering a variety of majors, a variety of experiences, research opportunities, internships, and so what it comes down to is your perfect fit. So what is it that you're looking for in terms of study, in terms of opportunity, considering also climate and area, what else do you want access to? And so one of the places I can direct you to, the Education USA website, and I'll add the link to the chat box. There is a defining your priorities worksheet that can help you think through some of the questions that will be a guide for you as you're looking at your options. So while you're looking at different universities, checking back to make sure that it fits within what it is that you're looking for in a program. You may not be sure about all of the different things that are available, but there should be some very key features. So if you're certain of your major, making sure that the types of courses offered in that major are available at the institution you choose. If you're not sure of a major, making sure that the university has enough of a variety of the areas that you're interested in that allows you to then explore some of those interests before making a final decision. So that would be my answer to that, but I'll add the website link on the chat box.
Thank you, Melissa.
You're welcome.
This, Melissa, is also, I'm going to ask you to provide some feedback. A student is asking, will he be able to make it to the USA this year before the fall semester? He says, I'm worried I won't be able to make it this year because of restrictions. Now, it's my understanding you can fly from Doha to the United States.
Yes. So right now, the challenge is that each university is making those decisions about whether campuses are open or not independently. So it really does depend on your specific university. If your campus is open and they are accepting students and you're able to travel, and again, there are other steps to that which involve the visa, which I expect that that's part of the challenge. The universities are aware of the situation with visas not necessarily being possible to be issued. And so the other options that universities are looking at are providing interim solutions. So hybrid models are something that are popping up more frequently with universities, which means they are providing both in-person and online courses. Again, depending on whether they're synchronous, meaning at the same live, or asynchronous where you can watch recordings. each university is really looking at what is necessary for the incoming class. It doesn't provide a lot of relief for students who are still kind of up in the air waiting to see what happens, but keeping on top of any updates by checking the consular section of the embassy's website so that you can be informed when those offices will be open for interviews. That'll be important. But making sure that you're in touch with the university, because again, as long as they know you are still waiting and trying to make it there, they will let you know what options you have. And whether you're not able to make it for the fall, looking at whether the online option is available for you and then when you will be able to come and join in person.
Okay. And Melissa, thank you, Melissa. There's another student asking about, he's interested in pursuing a PhD in political science or diplomacy, and he wants to know if he can do that without going to the United States. First, he has to be accepted into a program in the United States. And again, I think almost similar to what you spoke to, contacting the individual universities and see what they're offering virtually.
Yes, so you'd want to look for a university program in that field that provides an online degree option. There are universities that allow you to do a lot of the coursework online, and then when it comes time to your research, your thesis writing, or depending on what your doctoral dissertation process would be like, you might need to do a residency and attend, but it might be a full online degree. So it just depends on what type of program you select for that particular program.
There's a question here I'm going to address. Have Hadija address this one because one of your slides had a picture of a CV, and someone is asking how to prepare for my CV. I think when they're in college.
I can answer this. First of all, if you graduate from US universities, this is for sure they will give you a class for how to do your CV. So this is a class. Before you graduate, you'll have your CV ready and done with you. So this is exactly the same CV that I'm using from university until now. I just add on stuff. So thank you. Number two, just make sure to prepare for your CV. I'm not sure if you want to prepare it physically, how to write it, or to prepare your knowledge on it. Just take an opportunities, whatever it's coming across in universities, use whatever time in actually doing activities with university and with embassies. If you are from different countries, try to work with your embassy on that country. Build on relationships and new opportunities. Try to help people around the campus. Do your own small businesses. Those all skills that would help in building your CV. If I am answering correctly.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Hadija. We have one person asking about flights to the United States. You can fly to the United States, and they said that they do have a visa. Rachel, do you want to add anything to that?
Sure, thank you for that question. Yes, the embassy right now, because of the COVID-19 situation, has suspended routine visa services. And unfortunately, this does include students with your visas. So we're not exactly sure when this will end. I don't think anybody knows, but when it does, we absolutely will be prioritizing student visas so that you can get to your classes as soon as possible. And believe me, once we open, we will be posting that on our social media sites, and you will know, and we'll get you in for your visa appointments very quickly.
Thank you, Rachel. Okay, so this person is asking about, he's interested in studying a master's in architecture, cannot take the GRE exam. He needs, what he's looking for is an English language program. And I know that some of these that you can do virtually, and there is a link. Melissa, I don't know if can you share that on the chat, the link on the EducationUSA site that has a link to the English language programming?
Yes, I'll add that now.
EducationUSA. So
yes, and I'll also just add in terms of the GRE, some of the programs that typically have required some of the standardized testing based on the current situation and the lack of availability of testing many programs have waived that requirement for applications for the coming year, and some are even looking at that for the next academic year. So that is also, again, something to double check with the institutions, because some are looking at different opportunities for the standardized test.
Thank you. And I'll just add to that that tomorrow we're actually having a session about TOEFL. So if you're interested in learning about how TOEFL is being handled now, please tune in tomorrow. I don't see any other questions.
There is one there I see from Amr. If I'm going to a college in New Jersey, how do I know what classes I need to register for? So when I transfer to the four-year university. So I'll just quickly address that. If you're meaning a community college, or even if you're at a different institution that you're starting, there are academic advisors that would work with you to look at what your academic goals are, and they help you map out the courses that you need to take, either to transfer or to complete your program. So that would be something that your academic advisor would be helping you with while you're at the college or university.
Thank you, Melissa. And here on the screen, you can see our contact information. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach us at the Doha@EducationUSA email address. And also please follow us on Facebook. Stay tuned for future events that are coming up. Thank you again for joining us, and congratulations to all of you.
One last thing, please feel free to use the Menti code, and I'll post it again just to let us know what you think or how you feel about today's session. So I will reshare that. You are able to go online, type in the code that I will share now, and give us some feedback.
Yes, and thank you, Serkan, Hadija, and Fiza for joining us today.